Okay, guys. Well, welcome to the April edition of Beyond the Philmont Leadership Challenge. I'm John Richardson. I'm acting as your host for this month, and I'm excited about our guest speaker today. But as always, we're going to start things off with our typical intro and so forth. So let me turn that on real quickly. And so hopefully you guys can still see my screen. Again, our guest speaker is Philmont staff alumna and podcaster extraordinaire, Ficke Lowe. But first things first, let's go ahead and review the agenda for today. So tonight we are going to do the following. We're going to do our opening. We're going to set expectations, discuss the upcoming Beyond Philmont Leadership Challenge meetings, as well as the PLC updates, the Summit Leadership Challenge updates, the NYLT Power Up, and all that good stuff. Then we'll have our guest speaker speak. Then we'll have brief introductions and life updates. This is where we break up into small groups, chat about what's going on in our worlds. Caitlin's got a great question that she, at the end of her presentation, will kind of challenge, which I'd like for us to work into our time together. And then we will have closing remarks and go from there. So with that being said, if you guys don't mind, everybody mute your video. And I'd like to have Curtis, if you don't mind, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Jeez, oh man. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry about
Thanks,
that.
Curtis. You're good.
Sorry.
Thanks, Curtis. All right, and let's do this. Sherry, do you mind leading us in the Scout Oath and Law, please?
Sure. Sorry, I had everything turned off. Please join me in the Scout Oath. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout Law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
Thank you, Sherry. And now, actually, Roland, do you mind leading us in the Philmont Leadership Challenge, please?
I'd be glad to. Thanks, John. I do hereby promise on my honor as a Scout that I will be a servant leader, primus inter pares, first among equals, helping others grow and succeed for the good of all. As the sundial measures the passage of time, so will my service be measured over time by my impact on others.
Thanks, Roland. All right. Again, expectations for our time together tonight. Again, create a supportive, safe environment. Be prepared to give quick answers and succinct when it comes to when we do the small groups breakout. Recognize and appreciate different communication styles. Live the Scout Oath and Law, as well as the PLC servant leadership principles, and help promote the 2025 PLC experience in your respective councils. And so let's go ahead and move on to the Philmont Challenge Leadership Update. And that is coming up on August 17th to the 23rd. So Sherry, do you mind giving us a quick little, let me check around, see if Kathy's not here yet. So Sherry, oh, there you are, Kathy. You are here.
I am here.
Let's go. Okay, so Kathy, if you don't mind, give us an update. How are things going with PLC and recruitment and all that good stuff?
Yeah, they're going fantastic. So I had the great pleasure of joining Sherry, leading both NAIL and PLC leadership faculty at the Course Directors Conference last month at Philmont, which was fantastic. Thanks for that, Sherry. And it was really great meeting the NAIL course directors as well. We have only 6 slots left in PLC. So if you know anybody who's on the fence and they're wanting to get into PLC, encourage them to get signed up, as well as continue please promoting for Leadership Challenge at the Summit, as well as NAIL at both Summit and Philmont. We want to fill all those slots so people have those opportunities.
Very good. Do you guys have any questions for Kathy? As y'all know, Kathy is serving the Philmont Leadership Challenge for 2025 as the course director, and all roads lead to her. So, Scott, did you have a question?
I just a quick update. I think we had a staff change recently for August.
We
Todd, yeah.
yeah, we
I don't know if
did.
everybody
So
knows that.
yeah, so sadly, Todd Christian was going to be our quartermaster, and he, because of work changes, is not able to join us. So Joni has moved into the quartermaster role, and we just got confirmed that Jove is taking up the CG slot. So welcome to Jove. We're very glad to have him as part of faculty.
Very good. Any other questions for Kathy? Kathy, again, thank you for all that you're doing to, again, prepare for the upcoming course. And then we mentioned the 2025 Summit Leadership Challenge. Any idea, Kathy, how many spots are open for that as well? Any idea?
I don't have an update on that because it's been a few weeks. Sherry, any idea?
No, I don't. Last time I talked to Jay, they only had 2 signed up, so I'm hoping they have more.
And Amy Taylor and I have been in contact. So she's the Leadership Challenge at the Summit course director this year. And we're going to try and set up something similar to what Colin and the course director did last year to go live, probably do a Facebook Live and try and encourage folks and answer questions to sign up for either Leadership Challenge at the Summit or ours, PLC.
That worked
Sure.
really great last year. I'm happy to hear that.
Yep. And we are planning to do that. So stay tuned.
Very good. And Cullen, who served as the course director for 2024 last year, will be heading up the NYLT Power Up, which is going to be at Philmont coming up the week of July 13th through the 19th. So in your respective council, if you're involved with NYLT and you want to get the best in training in that space, and we'd love for you to come up back to Philmont, because everybody wants to come back to Philmont, which I get, because it's a great place. It's heaven on earth. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to do a quick little intro and then kick it over to our guest speaker today. But first things first, let me just tell you what, we've had a lot of amazing speakers since we've had, I don't know which episode this has been. I don't know if these are the 6th or the 7th or something like that, but you guys are in for a treat. Caitlin is amazing. The podcast she hosts is amazing. If you love Philmont, if any part of your heart is tied to Philmont, the story she's about to share, the vision of what she does through this podcast, if you will become a subscriber, there's no doubt. You'll click to subscribe and like all things about her podcast, because it's like Philmont. It's like this, except it's on a regular basis. With that being said, I'm going to unshare my screen, throw it over to you, Caitlin. The floor is yours again. I'll let her tell her backstory and it's where she's from and all that good stuff. She's had a great presentation. And so with that being said, Caitlin, take it away.
Excellent. Thank you so much, John. And thank you everyone for being here tonight. I'm going to share my screen. Make sure my sound is on. All right. How does that look for everybody? Okay, fantastic. So as John said, I'm Caitlin Lowe, and Silver on the Sage podcast is my baby. I'm the host and producer of the show. It is a podcast it's a podcast platform format. So if you're not familiar what a podcast is, now you will. Now you will know. I worked at the ranch from 2007 to 2013, mostly in the backcountry, and then 1 year as a photographer as well. Met my husband at Philmont. That's him in the picture there. And this is us hiking when we worked in the autumn. I also worked in autumn and a winter season. So Philmont's very near and dear to my heart, like it is for you all. My family plays a big part in my story. My dad worked at the ranch for 1 summer and told us stories about it when we were little, my sisters and I. And then I applied to work out there one day. And since then, all of my sisters and I have worked there, and my dad, obviously, and my mom, we need to get her out there. So she wants to maybe be a cook in the backcountry. A little bit about me. I'm an Enneagram 7, if you guys are familiar with the Enneagram test. I know John is. John's also a 7. And we're just kind of outgoing, spontaneous, gregarious folks. So I'm a planner, a writer, and sort of a keeper. I really love history and majored in history in college. So I live by this quote that isolation is the dream killer. And I think that everything we do is always better with others. I really always try to strive for a crowded table mentality. So that's me, the voice behind the mic. A brief history about the podcast. About 6 days after I had my daughter, my second daughter, Louise, down there in the corner, I moved to Kansas City, my husband's job, and I was just really lonely. And I started, especially missing Philmont. So I started just reaching out to Philmont people, whether I knew them or had wanted to get to know them. I started kind of just like reaching out and chatting. And I thought to myself, maybe there's a Philmont podcast and I can just listen to stories. And there wasn't. Although I should say there was an individual, Larry McLaughlin, who you'll see later. He did have sort of a podcast. It was sort of more like he would call his friends and talk to them and then air the audio. So I can't take the credit for being like the original, but second line, second in place. So I'm in Kansas City. I'm talking to friends, and I decide that there could be other people missing folks and wanting to share the stories and preserve the history. So January 25th, 2021, I launched the podcast. It took me a few years that you can see there to really get there, but I had another kid in the meantime. So I launched with 3 episodes, and then for every Tuesday, for up until year 4 of the podcast, it was an episode every Tuesday, and now it's every other Tuesday. What I immediately recognized was this like intimacy of shared imagination and how people just like we innately just want to tell our story. And so this beautiful like wave of interviewees and people wanting to be involved in a supportive community just like immediately followed the launch of the podcast, which was really cool. So the mission statement is to connect Philmont staff alumni through their own voices, to build a dynamic, ongoing conversation, to really discuss the impact of your time at the ranch. Preserve and share the stories, highlight, promote, and lift up staff alumni in their current season of life, and also support any future plans or dreams. If you're not familiar with the song I Don't Mind by Peter Bingen, he was a Tabasco Donkey, which was kind of a popular Philmont band in the 90s. He wrote this beautiful song called I Don't Mind, and the lyrics are kind of sketched out there in that photo. So definitely encourage you to jot that down in your notes and listen to his song because it inspired me when I was writing the mission for the podcast. The logo, we needed a logo. We wanted to try to keep it in-house. So I was really into block printing at the time, and I still am. It's a pretty cool art form. So what you have to do is you have to sketch an image, and then you carve it onto a linoleum block. You roll ink over, press the paper down, smooth it out, and then you lift the paper up and you've got this beautiful block printed image. So that is our logo there, and it has 3 creative components. So we wanted the ponderosa pines, which are typically a pretty popular tree at the ranch. People like to smell them, and some say they smell like butterscotch, some say vanilla. So we've got the pines, and then we wanted a cabin, and we tried to keep it kind of vague. So it wouldn't specifically be a fish camp cabin, but some folks say it resembles Black Mountain or Porcupine. And then lastly, the third component was the horizon. So we have the mesa with like the hint of a moon. So that was a really fun endeavor, lots of trial and error. Let's see here. The song, every good podcast needs a song, a ditty. So I wanted something that really felt like Philmont. And I immediately thought of my brother-in-law, Dylan McDermott. And so he composed the song and recorded it. And then my husband played fiddle for part of it as well. The song title originally didn't have a title. So I reached out to listeners once I had a following and I said, give us some ideas for naming the song. And so Confluence won, which is a really beautiful term, in my opinion, just kind of makes me think of fish camp where the 2 rivers come together, that confluence. So, and at the end of the song, there is a whisper of the Philmont hymn. So that was just kind of an ode to John Westfall and that song. I'm going to play it here and hope you guys can hear it. Let's see. So it goes on, but that's the beginning of every episode. So once you hear that song, that sound, you're just like, okay, I'm about to like transport to Philmont and have an hour of Philmont stories. So then here's some current stats of the podcast. We are in year 5, and the podcast has always been free. So you can listen on Spotify, on Apple Podcast. You can listen on the website, the podcast website for free. So lots of places to find us. As of today, we've published 173 episodes, and we're close to 97,000 downloads. We've been listened to in over 90 countries and territories, and then our top 3 there, as well as 4,000 cities and our top 3 cities. So the stats are really fun for me just to like see who's listening, and it's just kind of random, and then you'll have like your people who are always listening, your tried and true folks. So it's fun to see those stats come in. So I thought I'd share a few of those with you guys. Part of my favorite part is like just the creative part of the podcast. And so we've done some special episodes, special series. Our most popular episodes have been our first episode, which was Leela Puckett Murphy, who's the great-granddaughter of Wade Phillips. A Campfire season finale was a really popular show just to hear people send in tunes. So they record themselves playing and then send it to me, and I put it together in a campfire vibe. And then Chris Sawyer and Rod Taylor, who were full-time Philmonters for quite some time. So we've done about 4 campfire episodes, and our most recent one was a tribute to Doug Palmer, who's no longer with us, but was a very impactful man. I also got to do an ASMR episode, which is kind of like those like very specific sound that's kind of popular right now, where it's like you just really, the sounds, the engaging vibrations and reverberations of an experience hiking to Cypher's Mine. So I hike up to Cypher's Mine, and you just kind of hear my footsteps crunch on the trail and crossing the mini creek crossings. And I go on a mine tour and go to the forge. But my favorite part was Advisor's Coffee, because this storm blew in and people were all just chatting, and you can just like hear cups and people sipping. And so that was a really cool episode. It's one of my favorites. And then we've done series to highlight women of Philmont, the locals of Cimarron, advisors, fire and forestry, ghost stories. We had an iCamp episode where people sent in sort of dedications if they wanted to say something to someone who might be listening. The ranch department has been a huge supporter as well, the Cowboys. We did Trail the Rock Opera, which was this kind of phenomenon in the 90s at Cypher's Mine. And then we've had many seasonal episodes that just mirror the holidays, so Christmas and Thanksgiving. I got to be invited to record live at Philmont at Crater Lake several years ago. So I'm going to see if this one will play, just to kind of share. Oh, and the gentleman who invited me to interview at Crater Lake is Larry McLaughlin. So he was the original who had kind of the phone call interview before like the podcast platform existed. Okay, let's see if this one works. If it doesn't, I'll tweak it. Okay, hold tight one sec. One sec. Let's see. Share. Okay. Welcome back to Silver.
We're on the state. Oh, I thought we were both going to do the intro.
Are you asking me questions?
I'm asking. Yeah, well, see, I thought I was going to do the intro because I'm going to ask Ficke Lowe, the host. So I'm going to be kind of like the host today.
Do the intro then. Let's hear it.
Hi, my name is Dirty Larry. Welcome back to Silver on the Sage podcast. This is season 2, episode. Because I don't know what it is.
I don't either.
Kaylin, where are we?
So yeah, let's set the scene for the listeners. We are at the one and only Crater Lake Campfire Bowl at Philmont Scout Ranch.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful morning. It's September. We're here in September, and it's quiet, and we have these mics set up. We're shooting a little bit of video here, too.
Yeah, it's a little, like, ridiculous, but awesome. We've got a lot of tech up here at the Campfire Bowl, but it's for the good for you guys. So let's see if I can go back to this here. Okay, so that was a really fun episode, and really generous of Larry to kind of invite me to come up, and we sort of interviewed each other. So that was kind of the first time I was interviewed on the show, and listeners kind of got a glimpse of the person behind the curtain. So it was a really, really fun episode. So this is over the years, just kind of looking back, this was my original studio. There when we're moving, obviously it's taken apart, but otherwise it had kind of this beautiful cozy vibe. I just recorded from my
Yeah, I don't see that
Oh.
slide.
okay, here. Thank you. Let's see. We'll do this. Oops.
Caitlin and I did a run through, so I'm familiar with what her slide deck looks like. So
We're
just
almost
in case y'all
there.
are wondering.
Okay, how about that? Better? Okay,
Good.
so we'll start over. So over the years, just reflecting on the journey of the podcast, I started recording in the storage closet in my house. And when we moved, that's kind of what it looked like when it was empty. And it was really hard to leave that little space because it became this very intimate, special place where all this magic happened. And so I've yet to find a new space in my new home back in Nebraska, which is why I'm in our sunroom right now. But anyhow, that's the studio. I started asking folks if they had an 11th essential, and this question just sort of came to me on one of the interviews. So it wasn't even the first interview I ever did, but you have your 10 essentials, of course. And then I asked, if you could bring one more, or if you could add one more to that list, whether it's a practical tool that you keep in your pack, or more of a value or a mindset that you keep with you on the trail of life, what's your 11th essential? And that's been super fun over all the 173 interviews to see what people have said. And it's really fun, really beautiful. The servant leadership of the podcast is huge for me. That's my being on staff at Philmont was the first time I ever heard that term. And I just really leaned into it and saw it as a great way to live your life. I use it in parenting. I use it at work. So I also try to engage that in the podcast of just that this podcast is not at all about me or, like wanting to monetize it. It's just like, I want to preserve and share the immeasurable impact that Philmont has had on our lives for everyone. There's been a lot of off-air magic. So after I recorded interview, lots of people chat. We continue to chat off air. Maybe we meet in person later, and just some really beautiful relationships have sparked over the years. So how sometimes you leave Philmont and you think, oh, those are all the friends I'll make. And it's like, no, it's just going to keep going, and the ripples are just going to keep going out. The Philmont Staff Association has been very supportive of the podcast since day one, and they highlighted the podcast in the High Country magazine, which was really, really awesome. And I was super grateful for that. So that was cool as well. And then I'll play a quick clip. This episode was titled Thanksgiving. I think let's see if, first of all, hold on one sec. I don't know. My Mac just doesn't like to share everything, but okay. How about that? Does that look better? Okay. So one of my favorite episodes I ever did is called Accidental Treasures. It's a Thanksgiving seasonal episode, and it was a compilation episode of people talking about why Philmont was impactful to them. So I was just going to play a few little clips of that. Let's see if it'll go.
Unit 2 to Abreu.
I was talking to him, he's like, you don't really, show off all your Philmont, you don't have all this Philmont gear. And I said, yeah, I represent Philmont by who I am. It wouldn't be me, if it weren't for Philmont. And like, it seems like this circuitous path around the globe, but it's like a circle that has at its center the ranch. And like, I guess like my favorite piece of Philmont memorabilia is me. That might sound a bit like egotistical, but like, it's like we wouldn't be, well, of course we wouldn't be talking if I never come to Philmont because it's a Philmont podcast, but like I wouldn't be who I am or where I am and as happy and content and grateful for everything as I am if it weren't for those experiences. So, I have enough to keep me going and enough to, like in our house is a really nice portrait, but it's the stories, the songs, and now my kids are like telling their own stories, and it's like, yes, that's what, I don't need something on the wall to remind me of that. That's all that's in your heart,
Unit 2 to Apache Springs.
So let me stop share and come back to you guys with the, okay. Let's see. Can you see yeah, okay. So that's just a little clip of one of my favorite episodes. Let's see, there we go. Folks do support the podcast monetarily. I've got some monthly Patreon subscribers and then some one-time donors, which is I'm so grateful for because it does cost money to produce the podcast, so that kind of helps me just stay afloat. And then if you want to support the podcast but get something back in return, we do have mugs. We've got those logo prints, so you can get an original logo print. And then we've got some music for sale. My sisters and brother-in-law and husband and I have a band. We're called the Calico Stray. We mostly play kind of, Philmont covers, folksy music, some originals, and you can find that music on bandcamp.com. I have the podcast website here, and then let's see if it'll share it easily. Yeah. So that's what the website looks like if you're looking for us. You can listen, you can learn more about me, more about the podcast. You can participate, you can nominate people to be on the show. You can nominate yourself if you want to be on the show. And then there's the store over there, as well as ways to donate. So that's the website. And that's what I have. I'll end it with this quote at the bottom. Far and away, the best prize that life has to offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing. I think there's a lot of work we do in life that's busy work or tedious, or we're distracted on our phones. But Mark Anderson shared this quote with a group of us on staff when I was there, and it's always stuck with me. And far and away, this podcast for me is work worth doing. So I'm very grateful to be able to host it. And I'm so grateful for people that support it and get to take away something from it. So yeah. Thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions, you can ask them now, I believe, John, or whatever you want to go from here.
Yes, please feel free to jump in and fire away. Again, I just loved that presentation, and I can't wait to rewatch this again and actually go back and listen to more of the podcast episodes, because it's so good. It's so clever, and you get sucked in before you know it. Time flies because you're enjoying it. So, questions for Caitlin?
Hey,
I have a
Kate.
comment. Okay, sorry.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I have a comment for Caitlin. I just wanted to say thank you. I was listening to your podcast one day, and I usually clean stalls while I'm listening to your podcast. And you had a wonderful guest named Emily Smith on there. And I listened, and she said how much she loved Nail. And I said, wait a minute, I'm trying to get young people back to staffing Nail. She'd been an SCL, senior crew leader for Nail. And thank you so much for having her on. This will be her second year this coming summer, staffing Nail as an adult. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Please
Absolutely.
have some more.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad to hear that connection. That's so cool.
Hey, Caitlin, I was wondering if I know some podcasts that I listen to also they put their podcasts on YouTube, so you could listen to them through YouTube as well. And I was wondering if you did that for your podcast.
Thanks. Yeah, great question. I don't yet. It is on my future list of things to do. So definitely stay tuned, and that will be there soon. So yeah, I'm trying to hit all the platforms that people want to engage with. So yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious. I threw my 11th essential, and truly, it's not just because of journals at PLC, but truly, I take a journal every time I'm camping, like actually anywhere. What was the most surprising 11th essential that you heard?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I think that the funny ones always are fun. People will say, like duct tape or whatnot, kind of those practical for on the trail actual ailments and stuff. But there was a episode of I'm gonna forget her name, I apologize, but I interviewed a gal who had hiked like continents. I mean, she had hiked like crazy amounts after her time at Philmont, and she had like these 5 items, and one was like a stone from a river and something from her grandmother, and it was just really poetic and beautiful, and that always stuck with me because I'm a big poetry fan. So I think that one was meaningful to me. And then my 11th essential is sunglasses, which is kind of lame, but I can't like do anything outdoors without my sunglasses. So anytime someone else says that, I'm like, we're gonna be friends.
Yeah, I'm wondering if like yeah, if other people had like a personal item that like represents somebody that's with them.
Yeah, so a lot of people have very meaningful things to say. There's been a lot of wisdom come out of that
Yeah,
question.
super cool.
Caitlin, are there any podcasts that you listen to that inspire you?
Oh, not at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to say yes, but honestly, after kind of, editing and doing this one, the truth is I might be a little burnt out, but I should find something that fills my bucket back up too. So yeah, good question. I'll have to do some homework on that one.
Caitlin, in one of the podcasts that you had, I listened to was with you and your sister, and you guys talked about your dad. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that as a kid growing up and what Philmont meant to you, and then now as an adult looking back and what you're doing to continue that legacy of growing the knowledge of what Philmont is and how much of an impact it can have in people's lives. Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I briefly mentioned my dad worked at Philmont for one summer, I think in the late or the early 80s. And then when we were little girls, he would tuck us in at night and sing the songs and tell us the stories of like, these crazy cowboys in the mountain. And we thought it was this myth, like it was not real. And then lo and behold, it does exist. And I was a big 4-H kid, so I worked at a lot of 4-H camps in the summer. And then when I was old enough, I was like, hey, Dad, can I apply to Philmont? And at the time, he didn't even know if women could work there because obviously they didn't work there when he was there. And so we got online and made some phone calls. And I ended up working at Beyond my first summer, which is the camp he worked at. And then I just inundated my whole family and drug all my sisters out there. And I met my husband there. My brother-in-law's been there. It's just kind of a bunch of people from my hometown, Lincoln, Nebraska, then went. And so it just grew this really cool part of our whole lives. Today, we really love to play music. It's kind of embarrassing. Like anytime our family's together, it's like Sound of Music. We're like the Von Trapp family, or anyways, we're always singing and performing. And this summer, we got invited to go sing at the 75th anniversary at Philmont Training Center. So we're really thrilled that we get to go out there and bring our kiddos this time. So my kids have been to Philmont once. That's us in the picture there at Miranda. And they're really, really excited to go back and do the Philmont Training Center program this year. So very excited for that.
Very cool. Any other questions for Caitlin? This has been a really fun episode. I know that Julie and John Lesko would ask this question. They're traveling on a train right now, but tell your connection with the Philmont Ambassadors Program. What's that relationship been like? Or if there's anybody who's listened to your podcast that has decided, I need to be a Philmont ambassador and spread the good news about Philmont. Has there been anything in a connection in that space?
So when you say Philmont Ambassador, specifically the Philmont Staff Association?
It's through the Philmont Ambassador Program through the Philmont Training
Yes.
Center. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've especially at the beginning when the podcast launched, like the first 2 years were just kind of this like golden moment. And so I just like, I mean, just tons of support. People always giving me feedback, giving me ideas. And that's another part of the sort of the crowded table mentality I like to live by is, like there's no bad question, there's no wrong suggestion. So there's been some really cool collaborations with ambassadors and people, yeah, being like, hey, what if we try this? Or what could the podcast do this for us? And so I love doing stuff like that. So absolutely lots of support there, lots of back and forth. work.
Very cool. Any other final thoughts or questions for Caitlin? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and transition and break up into our small groups. Any final thoughts? Seeing none, again, Caitlin, on behalf of everyone here, I just can't thank you enough for your time and for sharing your story with us. And for those folks who actually watch this this on YouTube and watch this video, because all these are recorded and posted later, I would love for you guys to go and to click on Silver on the Sage podcast and go ahead and watch it and become a fan, just like I've become a fan since I've gotten to know Caitlin. So again, on behalf of the crew, again, thank you so much. I want to give you a round of applause.
Thank you guys so much. This was so much fun for me. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope you all listen. Send me some nominations or nominate yourself if you want to share your stories. And if you're ever in Nebraska, knock on my door.
Perfect. Thanks, Caitlin.
Take care.